It's the Silly Moustache yet again, part 3 of my romance with Collings guitars. We're up to 2011. I've just bought my second DS2H, and I spent a lot of time comparing the two, and there is a video or two about that. And they were quite different in personality, these two guitars, as they should be, although both perfect in their own way as far as build's concerned. The necks are getting clumpier, getting thicker. I noticed that with the DS1. But that's okay, I like a clumpy neck. Then I saw another DS1 on eBay, would you believe? And so an irrational thought passed my head, well, you've got two rosewood dreadnoughts, perhaps you ought to have two mahoganies. Well, how'd you do? I made contact with the person that was selling it. And I thought better of it. I thought, no, this is just illogical, Andrew. You know, you're collecting, you don't need it. And anyway, I wasn't sure that I really liked this particular kind of sunburst. And also, you know, if it had had a brighter binding, it would have looked prettier, but it had tortoiseshell binding that goes with a DS1. So I passed. And then a little while later, I was contacted by an acquaintance of mine who tends to flip guitars, you know, buy and sell quite a lot, and keep an incredible amount for himself. But he said, I heard you ask questions about that Collings DS1. Yes, I did. Decided to leave it. He said, no, I bought it. Oh, what's it like? Oh, it's really very nice, but it's not my style of guitar, so I'm going to trade it. And I'm in your area soon. Would you like me to come over and show it to you? Yeah, okay. And so he came over and we had a long chat and I played it. Now this is a 2003 build, the same as the 000 that I've got. So by 2012 it had 9 years of use, and it was well played in, got a good few dents in the back, buckle rash of all things, and a few little dings and mats, but you know, it was still stable, it was still good. And it had the full K&K microphone and mini arrangement in it, plus a belt, preamp and stuff like that. So for reasons that I'm still trying to work out 11 years later, it stayed with me when he went, and he took some of my money with me. So there we are with him. I use this quite a lot when I go to the sort of thing that I try to avoid, like open mics and things like that, because it is pluggable-inable. Getting near to needing a refresh, but still okay at the moment. So now it is 2012, and I have two rosewood dreadnoughts and two mahogany dreadnoughts, and this is getting silly. What can I say? I was at my club when a friend of mine came along with a Gibson that he had rebuilt, or maybe a Kalamazoo that he had rebuilt. He's very good about taking very damaged old vintage guitars, taking them apart and rebuilding them. And he built this from a box of parts, and it was beautiful. It was light as a feather, so responsive, and I can't remember what it was. It might have been an L2 or something like that, flat top of course. I loved it, a Kalamazoo version of an L2. And I said, I'll buy it. And he said, no, not for sale, I'm going to keep that. And so that set me on another string. I thought, you know, he only plays blues, and I thought, blues guitar, maybe I ought to buy myself a Gibson. So I looked for Gibsons, and there was a shop about 40 miles away that had a rather large stock of Gibson L00s and similar variations of it. And so I went along with some cash in my pocket and a guitar that I was thinking about trading in, and I sat down with them. They're very good the way they treat you. They ask you what you're interested in buying. If you've got a trade-in, that goes into the office for later discussion and for security. And they set you up in the trying area with a stool, a tuner, and someone stands over you for a while when you play the first guitar, just to see whether you're an idiot or not. Make sure you're not an idiot, then they leave you in peace. They go away and they leave you. And I had 2 or 3 Gibson guitars. None of them were the quality or in presentation or tone that would satisfy me. And so he came up a little while later and said, "How are you getting on?" And I said, "No, these aren't, if the sound is okay, the finish is bad, it's not for me. So I think I'll just leave it for now." And as I did that and I put down, something caught my eye, and I had been sitting with my back to a display of rather noisy Sunburst guitars. I mean, noisy in colour. And I said, "What are they?" And he said, "Oh, they're Waterloo. They're built by Collings, you know." Oh, I think I'd heard about them. And there's a 12 fretter. Can I try that? And this was a Waterloo WL12, and it still is. Different kind of different approach altogether to Collings guitars. Well built, of course, but plain. It's emulating a Kalamazoo of the 40s, 30s, 40s maybe. 12 fret, which isn't an absolute copy of anything apart from maybe a Hawaiian version of a Kalamazoo. Very basic finish, X-braced, which was my preference, adjustable truss rod, of course, that you didn't get with many Collings of that time, I don't think. But that harsh sound, which is if you're going to play a blues on a small guitar, it should look something like this, shouldn't it, really? And I was also participating in a number of jams, and I thought it would be good for that. Small guitar, a big voice, and so it came home with me. I got it home, and frankly I didn't like the sound of it, so I hung it up for 6 months. It listened to the radio, and then I picked it up another day, and the tone had changed considerably. It's an odd thing, but it's Collings, so I have that security of quality in it. So there we are. Now, that was 2016, and I was kind of finished buying guitars. But in 2019, I was getting more and more into finger picking. I'd had cancer treatment in 2017. 2018 was pretty much wiped out. 2019, I was just starting to get my voice back, but still feeling pretty unhealthy and unhappy. And there was a shop in the West End called Ivor Morant's, which was closing down. They were selling off stock, and I saw they had some Eastmans. Now, a couple of guys had turned up to my club with Eastmans, and I was quite impressed. So I went mad, and I got a size 0, an E20P, which arrived. It was shipped to me, and it arrived the next day, and it was remarkably good. I really liked it. So for a little noodling guitar, which I thought would be quieter, actually it's not much quieter than this Waterloo, it was a lovely guitar. 12 fret, slotted headstock, 1 13/16 nut width. Great, fine, fit me. So I kept the Eastman E20P, that's great. And my world was complete until 2020, when I saw the Fellowship of Acoustics in the Netherlands offering an Eastman E4000. Now this is the top level. This is blingified, it's got abalone all over it, and it was a 00, slotted head, 12 fret, 1 13/16. Oh dear. Well, I had a Collings Dreads and a 000, and oh dear. Also, by the way, in 2019 I had a bit of a depression. I sold my original Collings DS2H, which I still regret, but there we are. And so I had a bit of cash left over, and so I went for this E4000, which arrived in perfect condition and was a delight. So I had dreadnoughts, 000, and a 00, and an O, complete, right? Who could want anything else? Well, of course, I had encountered a couple of Collings 002H guitars. One particularly impressed me when I was at an RMMMGA meeting. Some guy had one and I was quite interested in it. This was probably back in the 90s, can't remember now. But he wasn't going to part with it for sort of money that I was prepared to pay. But at some point I must have asked eBay to let me know if a Collings 002H appears up for sale. And the first weekend in October, they sent me an email saying there is one up for sale. Oh no. So I looked at it. I made contact with the vendor. Seemed like a nice chap. But he said collection only, and there was no way I could travel that kind of distance now. So we kind of agreed that I would kind of like it, and I wasn't going to argue too much about the price. And I had a client, a Zoom client that I've been teaching for some time, who owned a shipping company, arranged shipments and everything. I rang him up and asked him if he could arrange it, and yes he did. And the following Thursday, this arrived. So now I've got a DS2H, a 002H and a 002H. This was built in 1998, like my very, very first Collings. It's quite different, you know, they evolved quite a bit. I still like my Eastman E4000. This doesn't appear to have been used much. When it turned up it was very dusty and a little bit clunky. I cleaned it up, I put some decent bridge pins on it and a hole to pick guard, and most minimal of fret wear on it, and I kind of love it. So there we are, that's the end of this three-part story about my romance with Collings guitars, and I hope you understand why I'm so crazy about them. Now, if you have been, thanks for watching. If you have any comments to make, please make them. I read all the comments and try to reply to them. And so if you have any other questions about my playing, my style, or you're interested in lessons, I have some vacancies at the moment, then please let me know. So again, if you have been, thanks for watching. Bye.